what we're doing to the earth, we're directly doing to ourselves. And when we truly get that, we absolutely live in different ways. We all have ancestors that live deeply connected to the earth. What Wayapa actually reminds us that these ancient ways are just as relevant, if not more, for us now in modern times. And people are really thirsty for this knowledge. It's really deeply healing. It brings, an incredible hope that these disconnected systems just aren't able to deliver to people anymore. And I think that's what people are really, truly feeling.
Welcome to another episode of We Are Carbon. I'm Helen Fisher, and today I'm joined for a relaxing group chat exploring the very powerful yet often overlooked topic of connecting with nature. In essence, this chat focuses right into what I consider to be at the very root of many of our global issues, a general disconnection that's created by our fast-paced modern world. As we strive for solutions to big problems, we can often over-focus on the actions that we want to push for, and overlook one of the biggest opportunities for attracting support to our efforts. Nature connection can be a path that is not only healing to us as individuals, but can really nurture that shift in mindset and become a driving reason for us to want to take care of the world around us too. These four ladies, Jem Stone, Rebecca Dunn, Debbie Mace and Sara Jones, are all practitioners of Wayapa Wuurrk, which is an Aboriginal wellness practice originating in Australia, which shares Indigenous wisdom for developing a more connected way of being. Three of our guests are joining from Australia, and I want to give a special shout out to Debbie, who is the first practitioner to share this modality in the UK. In fact, Debs and I are fairly local to one another, and I've had the pleasure of experiencing the practice with her in person. As she brings this wisdom to our shores, I'd love to encourage you to connect with Debbie if there are crossovers that could be amplified through working together. If you'd like to learn to teach this wellness practice, or of course if you'd simply like to enjoy it for your own well-being. Links for learning more and connecting can be found in the description. We recorded this back in June when Debs and I were exploring ways to bring relevant tips for nature connection to the everyday lives for people in the city of Lincoln, which was part of our celebrations for Great Big Green Week. This conversation brings through those tips and so much more. I hope you enjoy having a listen through.
My name's Jem, and I am a proud Bundjalung woman with mixed heritage from all over the globe. I'm living on Wurundjeri lands, and I am a Wayapa Wuurrk trainer, practitioner, and it's wonderful to be here.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Dunn. I'm a Wayapa Wuurrk practitioner and trainer. I live here in Camaragal country in New South Wales, and I'm happy to be on and having a yarn with everyone today. Thanks for asking me.
Thank you for inviting me today. I'm Debs. I'm a Wayapa Wuurrk practitioner here in the UK, the first of many, we hope. And I'm coming to you from the lands of the Coola people here in Lincolnshire. And looking forward to having a yarn with everybody today, respecting our ancestors and all the custodians of our lands, and just loving this whole journey. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And thanks for inviting us all here today, Helen. I'm Sara Jones. I am the Wayapa Wuurrk co-creator and executive director. Based here, I'm just, I was going to say zooming in, but I'm irising in from beautiful Bunurong country, which is right in the heart of Melbourne in Australia. And I'm a Canadian-born Australian, but with Welsh ancestry. Both my parents were Welsh, so lots of connections in the UK.
Fantastic. What a lovely mix of ancestry and different bits and pieces coming through. And I think that's a really great theme because we're actually coming together because of the Lincoln Great Big Green Week. That is at the heart of why this is happening at this time. So we are in Lincoln, myself and Debs. We're looking at, the connection locally. How do we connect locally? But you're bringing in this wisdom that's actually global, and it's also across different generations, right back, ancestral wisdom. And one of the major themes that we're looking at is nature connection and the role of nature connection for each of us individually in our lives and our well-being, but also collectively and for the planet. And it's a really broad topic. But in regards to how we can connect to nature and how we can look after nature, the idea of small steps, small swaps we can make and that are accessible in our lives, this is a key part of what we'd like to offer to people, a bit of something uplifting, no doom and gloom, just uplifting, easy, accessible conversation that we can bring to people to inspire them in their actions. So over to you all. I'd love to, I know it's always difficult when we're in a mixed call like this and there's different little bits of lagging. People might not experience that when they're watching in or listening in, but do appreciate that there's those little bits of disjointment between us, but how wonderful that we're able to connect like this right across the globe. And I'd like to just hand it over to you all on those themes to just chip in and have a little bit of a chat and how do you feel that we can inspire people, and what tips can you offer, and go back and forth and see how the conversation flows.
Thanks for that, Helen. It's definitely something that we embrace in Wayapa Wuurrk. Our mantra is it's very much an individual journey to collective well-being. So it's really important to be able to stand in that space of knowing, first and foremost, this is about us embracing these concepts or these things that we can do, having that understanding that we have a reciprocal relationship with Mother Earth, with the environment, with all of the elements, and then thinking about, because we are nature, we're not a part of nature, what can we do in our everyday action to look after our mum, as Beck would say. I'm paraphrasing Beck there.
Maybe just to put a little timestamp on it too, Helen, because it's the 6th of June here, and we're coming into winter solstice time here down our southern hemisphere, and as you ladies are moving into that beautiful summer solstice energy your end. And here we've got a big storm, we've got a lot of flooding here on country where I am, but I'm always just, we're always connected by those elements. So the moon's in the same phase and cycle that it is down here as it is up there for you, even when the sun's doing different things. So I find that quite soothing and comforting to know that no matter where we are on this planet or where our roots sort of extend to, that we have this beautiful connection that we all get to share. And our ancestors told stories about all these different processes and cycles, and we can lean in and remember those stories and remember those wisdom to help guide us and develop the new stories as the land's emerging anew for these times, to listen, to know how to care for her well. Yeah.
When we find a spot in the day, a magic spot in the day, when we're all sharing sunlight at the beginning or the end of the day, just before the sun makes that move from one hemisphere to another, and we're, sharing and yarning and connecting, that's always really special to me. But the fact that we can do this and we can have these conversations, and we have the technology to do that, that's to be celebrated too. But as Beck was saying, it's, also acknowledging the traditional knowledge holders and respectfully listening to that wisdom and taking lessons from that, and not feeling that we have some kind of I don't know what the word is, help me out with words here, some kind of ownership over the planet, because we are part of nature. We are nature. You know, that's and the gift that Wayapa has brought me, that's the gift that keeps giving, definitely. But the strongest gift is deep gratitude. Deep gratitude for our sacred shared mother and all the gifts that we abundantly receive every day from nature, but also each other. And, you know, how we can be empowered with those small steps, which is, you know, the theme of the Great Big Green Week, where we're coming from in Lincolnshire and the UK at the moment, from the Climate Commission over the next week, but also we hope beyond. And those small steps that we can comfortably take and feel empowered to you know, embrace that journey. And, you know, Sarah said to me the other day, you know, we'll celebrate a keep cup. You know, if people make that transition so that they're using a keep cup and, you know, reusable bottles rather than single use cups, and restaurants can make that shift. So we were talking, weren't we, Helen, the other day at university about, you know, ideas there that we could bring in for community, and how money could be redistributed rather than putting it into landfill. And, you know, yeah, it's just amazing. There's just so much hope and opportunity. And I think that's the big message for me with Wayapa is, and earth mindfulness and the whole, you know, the whole nature connection, is that we have this opportunity. It's not all doom and gloom. There are, you know, there are things that we can do. And I think helping people to shift into that space is so much more hopeful and empowering. And that's what I love about all of this. And this is why I'm so passionate about it.
And I think that's important, isn't it? Before we can shift into what we're going to do, we have to know what we're thinking and how we're relating to country. And that's what Wayapa really instilled in me. And what I try and share with other people is that it's about the relationship that we have to the earth, and that we need to take care of what takes care of us, because the earth is the longest relationship that we'll ever have. She was here when we took our first breath, and she'll be here when we take our last breath. And we don't get a bill at the end of our journey with how much we owe her for water and air and food and shelter and everything. It's given generously. And so when you understand that, there's, like Deb was saying, this massive gratitude and love and respect. And so even though fear might ignite some of the changes we start to want to make, it's not going to sustain them. If we have this loving, respectful relationship for what cares and loves us for our whole journey, then it's much easier to make those changes, because we're not thinking then about, well, if I do a keep cup and nobody else does it, what impact will I have? It's because I'm doing a keep cup because I love and respect my mum, and that's caring for her, whether anybody else did that or not. So it totally shifted for me the way I started to relate to how I was going to make changes, and did it really matter whether it was going to have impact that I felt was beneficial or not. So I hope I've explained that properly.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Really well. I love that. I'm going to give space for Jem, because I recognise that you're having difficulty with the connection. But if you are able to hear us and join in, it would be great to have you have a bit of time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's stabilized now, so it may be a connection on this end too. Yeah, just touching on what Beck said, you know, that's the first place I go, is it's always about building those respectful relationships. So what is our relationship with the earth? And if we can truly deepen that relationship, you know, Deb was talking about small steps. So we think about the steps that we're taking with the earth. How are we interacting with country? And that's what I love about Wayapa, you know, because usually when we really think about, you know, our relationship to the earth, it is a concept really, but Wayapa actually offers us ways that we can really sort of build those relationships and have deeper connections through the 14 elements that we offer. So through observing those elements and knowing what our relationship is with each one of those 14 elements, you know, it overall deepens what our relationship is, what our place within those cycles are. and how they're impacting all of us. And it really just helps to integrate for us exactly that we are part of nature, that we're not separate from any of those things, and that we are in constant relationship with all aspects of the earth as well as those elements, whether we realize it or not. So the beautiful part is when we can, truly awaken to our place within that, then we can constantly have a positive impact through our actions, those small steps that we choose to take. And I love that Beck said, it really is about, how we treat any loving relationship is we want to care for that regardless of outcome. So it's really coming from a different perspective. It's not about saving the earth, it's about loving the earth, and how do we treat anything that we care about. So yeah, it's something that everybody can access, but a lot of people have difficulty really understanding or really feeling how they can build that relationship. So I love that Wayapa really offers those steps forward, and it's something that every single person on the planet can access. When we have that deep relationship with the earth, it doesn't matter where we're walking on the earth, we're always at home. So it's always coming back to that human experience and remembering our place as earth people.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, Sarah, I'm going to let you come in there.
No, that's okay. I was just going to expand on the fact that everything is relationship. It's relational. So we're never telling people what they're not doing or telling people how to do things. It's empowering people through relationship. So it's, you don't have to do these 7 things to be able to be Wayapa. It's very much around, what everybody is different and unique. So everybody has their own story. Everybody has their, own place in on this world. And so it's about getting them to feel that connection and thinking about what they can do. What is that relationship? What works for them? Because this world is full of judgment and ego. Everybody telling everybody what to do, and that really often puts people in a space of resistance just for the point of resistance. So when you come from a place of saying, how can I inspire you? Can I share a story about what I'm doing to be able to inspire you? Or, we celebrate what you do. And we also take balance because everything is balance, just because, sometimes I might be not so, maybe not so great in this area of my life, but I'm really great in this area. So that ends up balancing it out, which is really important because we can't all do everything all the time. That's when we go into anxiety and overwhelm. And so we just take a step back, inspire, empower, and also celebrate all the things that we do. And that's really important.
I'd love to also just continue talking about the relationship, because I think this is one of the important steps that most people miss. They're really coming from that sort of savior point of view when they're thinking about caring for the earth. But a relationship is a two-way street. So there's so much reciprocity in gaining that relationship with the earth when you really can sit back um, and see how much Mother Earth has been giving to us. As Beck said, from the time that we've been here on the planet, everything that we've ever had has always been from her, and how she constantly gives. So it's almost like the more that we interact and connect, the more that we notice that she's giving back. And so this relationship, really builds as a two-way relationship, and the gifts are endless. She keeps revealing new things. We're constantly learning new ways of connecting and new ways that she's showing us. She's literally our greatest teacher, our lead facilitator in everything that we do. We operate with country and what's happening in those cycles of the moon while we're offering a workshop. What's present for us in the space, and whether that's here, right where we are, place-based sort of knowledge, but it's also those cycles and seasons that Beck sort of referred to. We think about the moon, and the sun cycles, and how did our ancestors, wherever they were from, how have they celebrated them, and how are we interacting the same? Because that truly is a human experience.
I think we forget the power of asking the earth. Like, part of a relationship is you get to talk and you get to listen. So the power of actually just going and sitting with the earth in wherever your special spot may be. We're talking here from different ends of the globe, so we're all going to have different special places, and just asking your mum, what is it that I can do for you next? And listening. And just that gets you into that relationship of what sort of son or daughter do I want to be for the earth, and what can I do next for my mum? And when we're doing that, then you can sort of layer then in and bring that Indigenous wisdom and that understanding that we borrow the earth from the future generations. So we're not just doing things for ourselves, we're doing things with that bigger picture in mind of well-being for the ones who walk after us, because we're borrowing the earth from them. So that then changes entirely for me. I know when I do that, the kinds of activities I might want to engage with to help country, or to stop doing as well too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thinking about those next generations is really a foundation of what we do as well. It's so beautifully said, Beck. All those decisions that we make that may, we want to make decisions for ourselves, but it really takes that, it's earth-centered work rather than self-centered work. And I think that's really something that's so unique, especially these days in sort of many modalities that are out there that are all about self-transformation, and they're not thinking about the collective or even considering future generations. So I think that's something that, once that becomes a way of being, then every decision that we make is really different when we're thinking that way for the collective and for those that are yet to.
So, for example, I don't know, can you hear that storm rolling past that's here, and there's a lot of flooding? So my thoughts are very much in, I've got to get better at catching and storing water in the land here. That will be my next action step that I take here, so that, with the, all the different changes that are happening on the earth, those Wayapa skills of observing the earth. Everyone's so good, aren't we, at staring in front of our rectangle all day long and keeping up to date with what's happening there. But Wayapa, as Sarah's very clever catchphrase is about the Earth's Wi-Fi, and about observing the earth and about observing what's happening, so we know how to read the times that we're in and make good choices accordingly.
Even going further, I think it's also about the conversation, to actually have conversation with each other around what we're observing, so that we're bringing in that awareness and that connection. So Beck and I just completed doing an online practitioner training for Wayapa Wuurrk practitioners, and Beck got me thinking about, observing, Mother Earth is constantly providing us with the answers. And I was thinking the other day, what was happening during COVID? And I remembered that one thing that was constantly happening everywhere around me was clover was popping up everywhere. And I went and Googled, what's clover good for? And of course, it's great as a for has antibacterial properties, and is great for our lungs and our respiratory and all that sort of stuff. So here was Mother Earth already showing us the way forward, with providing the solution to the problem that we're experiencing. So, but it's only when we have the observation and then have conversations about it that it can then also prompt further exploration, and then thinking, oh, what, things aren't, Mother Earth's always going to provide a solution for us.
Yeah. Look, I mean, some of the best minds on the planet have thought about how we can break down plastics and things like that. Yet Mother Earth's got that, there's this little worm that will do that for us now. And so, again, when we're observing and we're learning and we're humble enough to realize that, a lot of the times, and with COVID, not only when humans got out of the way, the earth started to heal herself. So the arrogance of humans often, we think that we need to go in and fix everything. And I see this a lot in the climate space, where everyone's looking for the big magic wand solution. And that's one silver bullet that'll fix it all. And, the truth is, a lot of the time we just have to stay a little humble and get out of the way and look after our own mess, and let the earth look after herself, because she's really, really shown us over those last few years that she's more than capable of doing that. I think before that, science was telling us it was going to take thousands and thousands of years to clean up a lot of things that were cleaned up in, less than a year, when we all had to get out of the way for a while. So I think that's brought a lot of hope to the planet as well, because I think there's a lot of despair and a lot of really irrational thinking in this space. But again, our ancestors really understood, they lived through changes on this continent here. Our people, not only survived but thrived through 2 ice ages. So you can imagine those changes on the planet. But again, because they were willing to be adaptable and read those seasons, those cycles and those changes of the earth, and live accordingly, we're able to get through that. And I think, that does bring a lot of hope, especially in this space, because I know there's, climate anxiety and a lot of distress that's happening. So again, it's about, that disconnection that most people are feeling. It's something that, a lot of healing can come just through those ways of connecting and through observing those elements. Those 14 things is something that we all have in common. And every single person on the planet has some form of relationship with those
and
elements.
Story too, Jem, around it, and the sharing of the conversation, because part of that last training that Sarah and I were in, I don't know if you girls remember, back in 2012 we had those massive red dust storms here in Sydney, where all the topsoil was blowing in from the country areas. And so a lot of people in the city, their story on that was, oh my gosh, my car's going to be covered in dirt, right? It's going to get in the house. It's going to be something I have to clean. My story on that was, as a farmer's daughter, oh my gosh, that's all that topsoil. We've only got 60 years of arable topsoil left, and that's all been blown into places where it couldn't be. Then Uncle Max, a beloved Yuan elder who's now passed, his story on that was different, because this topsoil was being blown in when the whales were coming back down with their babies. And when all that red earth gets blown into the ocean, it stirs up all the krill and the plankton that they feed on. So he was in the city in Redfern, and some of the aunties from the desert were in, and he said to them, oh, you girls are here and you bought all that red earth. That's great, because the whales are coming past with their babies. They'll be very happy that you're here and you've bought that. So all those different stories that, unless we're sitting and listening and sharing some of that story work, we can't change perspective. So when we hear a different way of thinking about what's happening around us, that can shift us out of our story and into a different space in order to act and see the world as well.
And, unfortunately, these days, not a lot of people are sitting around in circle and sharing knowledge with each other. So that's another huge thing that we see an impact with Wayapa, because a majority of what we do is about sitting around and sharing those stories, sharing the ways that we connect, but also sharing the way that we can take action in our life. Those small things, and passing on knowledge. That's what's got Indigenous people, through for thousands of years, is that passing on of knowledge. But unfortunately, we don't see that very often in the world. People, as Beck said, are relying on their screens, or you can sort of Google any bit of information. So people aren't connecting in those same ways. So it really brings back that safety and that sense of belonging as part of a community. And small tips that we can give each other so we don't all have to go and reinvent the wheel and find our sort of siloed ways of caring for the earth. We can do that collectively.
It is carving out that space for time to do that, because so many conversations are so soundbitey now, aren't they, on Instagram and Facebook, where, I know with sharing Wayapa, Jem and I do the social media for Sarah for Wayapa, trying to get some Wayapa concepts across in a very soundbitey way. That's, do you know what I mean? It can be, it's like, oh, should this be shared, or is this more something for a campfire, or a different, more nuanced yarn needs to emerge here? So, yeah, it is. It is nice to have this time that we're sitting here tonight and being able to think about all of this too. So thanks, Helen, for the space to do that.
No, I'm finding it incredibly nurturing to listen, and I think that it's touching on such a depth of wisdom and such a depth of information, but there are threads that are coming through it that are very clear and very strong. And if we don't allow the time to have something a bit more than the quick TikTok video, we aren't allowing space for that true depth of information. And throughout this, you've touched on solutions, and I say that very lightly because it isn't about finding a quick fix, but you've touched on upliftment and answers to a lot of the issues that we see every day. And me and you, Debs, we spoke about this in Lincoln just a couple of days ago. The problem that people are coming at this with is eco-anxiety. It's either they're on the real kind of other end of the spectrum and they're completely disconnected, and their mind is, I'm not even got space, I've not even considered it. You go on that spectrum and you do consider it, and you hit this point of anxiety and overwhelm, and it's beyond me, and how can I, as a human, I've been programmed that I need to fix things. How can I do anything about this? Well, I can't. So now I just feel in a heap. And actually, that next phase, you've covered so beautifully. That idea that it's not about us individually saving things. It's about us reconnecting. And through that reconnection, we can then recognize that new language, that new awareness that we're part of the earth. We're part of nature. This isn't us fixing. This is us being back and forth. And what a beautiful space to be in. Because all of a sudden we've gone from this thought that we have the burdens of the world on our shoulders to a space where we find our conversations about these topics are what nurture us. It's so nice to make the time and find the space to have people from around the world to just sit and talk and learn.
And that's how Indigenous people, First Nations people all around would do that. They would create that space, right? For the women, us women, our way would be to sit in circles like this and to listen and to share, and then to make a decision that's good for everybody going forward from there as well too, knowing that nobody here is more or less important than anybody else. So we have to think of our Earth Mother. She has human babies, but she has lots of other plant babies and animal babies and other considerations that we're connected into, and that their health is of equal importance as well as humans' health.
And also, Helen, you touched on the eco-anxiety, and you're so right. The problem seems the way that, a lot of the conversation is going, that this huge problem outside of ourselves seems so big that, we're powerless to do anything. So it really creates that apathy. And within that, that people just don't do anything at all because they just think that they can't solve this. But if we sort of take a step back from that and look at, what is that anxiety that's being created because they're feeling unsafe? So if we can help them to create safety by reconnecting, knowing that Mother Earth is holding us through whatever's happening, she's always held us. So we may not solve everything that's out there, but for the suffering that the person is feeling, they're able to, again, through that connection, feel that level of safety, feel that, new enriching relationship that they're building. Curiosity, they develop that childlike sort of curiosity that enlivens the heart, and thinking about, okay, what can I explore? What can I observe about these elements? How do I feel when I'm in nature? And taking those steps. But again, the beautiful thing about Wayapa is, not all of us have the capability of stepping out into nature. We might be living in cities. I know I live in a city, but this is, a way that, regardless of where we are, whether you're sitting over there in Lincolnshire, is that right? Or sitting in, somewhere in a beautiful, beachside landscape, we're able to access these elements, and these elements are working regardless of where we are. I don't know if you realise WAP has been shared in places like prisons, drug and alcohol rehabs, where people are very isolated from community and from society. So, again, reminding everybody on the planet that these cycles are operating within us and around us constantly. So again, it just helps to ease the suffering of the anxiety, regardless of what's going on out there. So people are able to begin to heal.
And I think that provides comfort, because we talk a lot in our training about disconnected systems, and they're crumbling and failing very rapidly at the moment all around us. And so we can either be in fear around that, or realize that they're not aligned with nature's principles. So Wayapa ways of being and seeing the world, we can recreate what we need from a much healthier space, from a more joyful space, a more respectful space that honors all life. And so to me, that's kind of exciting, as we're walking through this in-between time of the unknown, that we can, create the new ways forward based on the wisdom of the old ways that worked so well for our ancestors.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Beck. And sorry, Sarah, I'll just say this quickly, that, because those disconnected systems aren't working, we're sort of running on agitated energy. What Wayapa offers us is these ancient ways of knowing, being, and doing that every lot of people from around the planet would have operated under originally, that go back long enough, and we're all Indigenous to somewhere, and we all have ancestors that live deeply connected to the earth. So again, it's sort of allowing that remembrance to come through into our cellular memory, not thinking, well, it's just for people that are living this way, or it's just for people over here, or only for Indigenous people. But what Wayapa actually reminds us, that these ancient ways are just as relevant, if not more, for us now in modern times. And people are really thirsty for this knowledge. It's really deeply healing. It brings, an incredible hope that these disconnected systems just aren't able to deliver to people anymore. And I think that's what people are really, truly feeling.
And the good news is it's in you. Wayapa just activates that remembering and that knowledge. That's what I love, is watching people's journey over that time of the training, where they then realize it's in them. And then when we say to them, when you do your presentation at the end, it's just a celebration of what you already know, and people look at you blankly like, no, and then you watch this beautiful sharing of connection emerge at the end, that it's in us, and we get to share that with other people. It's very uplifting work to be doing. Yeah.
All right. I was just going to say before that one of those, deep programming is the fear of change. That, and yet it's one of the most natural cycles. Part of nature in every single way is change. We're constantly changing. Nature is constantly changing. All of the seasons and the cycles. And so, even if you just, observing a tree, in its, it's going through cycles of, maybe sprouting leaves. You're coming into your summer solstice, so it'll be in full bloom. Whereas we're coming into our winter solstice, so those leaves have started, have turned color and are dropping off and dropping away, but they're then creating new homes for all of the growth on the ground. And that beautiful nurturing and all of that beautiful compost. We often look at change as being, really crappy, and we say, yeah, it's great compost for growth. So it's just changing our perspectives to think, well, is it, is that crappiness is going to be compost for us to work through these situations, or come to a different perspective, which will make us feel better. So it's all okay.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That is just a one takeaway of the mindset of releasing the fear of change and seeing that it's there and it's happening for a reason. It's an adaptation, a transformation, and a path forward. And there's so much wisdom here. I'd love to offer people a sense of, if they're completely new, they've never heard about Wayapa, how would you describe it to them if they were just being introduced? What is Wayapa?
I'm happy to jump in. So Wayapa Wuurrk translates to connect to the earth in the languages of the Mara people and the Gunno people of Victoria. And it is an earth connection well-being modality. And it creates earth, mind, body, spirit well-being. And yeah, it's something that, as we said, it really brings back to that human element that's within us all. I often say to people, there's nothing really that I'm sharing that's new with you. It really is that remembrance. So it's a reactivation of that cellular memory that we all carry. And it is about that passing on of knowledge, so it's really sort of centering those Indigenous ways of knowing, being and doing, but not a sense that is only for some people, it's for all people. So it's that reminder that we all have this within us, and it's just a way that we can embody as well. So, where these concepts come in, we have that movement practice of those 14 elements. So it is the first internationally accredited Aboriginal wellness modality, which we're really proud of. But, it is about embodying that knowledge, rather than it just being a physical movement practice for the sake of moving the body. We're really sort of, although we have the set movements, everybody expresses them through their own connection to those elements. So it's really quite beautiful and accessible for everyone. It can be done sitting, standing. It's done in aged care facilities, even lying down. So it's one of the most inclusive practices that you can find.
And it's for everyone, regardless of your ancestral threads. Everybody, like Jem said earlier on, and Sarah and Deb, everyone said it. We all have umbilical cords to the earth, no matter where we are. So we have to all be caring for what cares for us. So if I had to be pushed and like sum up Wayapa in just a sentence, for me, it would be a strong, healthy earth is what makes us strong in body, mind, and spirit. So if you're okay with that, then of course you've got to care for what's caring for you. So we take all the ego and the dogma and everything out of it, and can all connect on those things to look after what's looking after us.
What we're doing to the earth, we're directly doing to ourselves. And when we truly get that, we absolutely live in different ways. And I think this is something that most people aren't really all that aware of at the moment. So it's really about connection. We really have a great mission at Wayapa to continue to share this in every space, whether it's through a conversation, whether it's through a workshop or an immersion that we offer. But just reminding people that we all have access to this. It's not exclusive for anybody. It's something that we all have within us. And, just by, even that sit spot that, someone might talk about, going and sitting in a spot and just feeling what country is sharing with you, and remembering to listen, because there's so much wisdom that is on offer to us, and it won't always come from humans. We need to really just sit and listen to the earth. And most times when we do, we know which way to go.
I think that's lovely, because there's something that we need to quiet our minds in life to move ourselves forward and to release everything that's going on in there. We get overwhelmed with just busy thinking, and the idea of meditating to people can actually be quite overwhelming and quite scary. How do I think of nothing? Whereas this is giving you a sense of, you're not emptying your mind, you're filling it with a different dialogue. You're connecting, you're having a conversation with the earth, you're observing, you're spending time for you to reset and feel place and feel your surroundings. And I think that is probably, as you've said, it's accessible for everybody. And you can take that to a prison, as you mentioned, Jem, and you can take that to different groups of people. I think it's so wonderful that we've had the opportunity to speak with you all together as a group like this, and to bring this wisdom and share and flow, which you've done so beautifully. Debbie, you have brought this to my awareness because of our local connection in Lincolnshire. How do you foresee it being a sort of a gift to the people of Lincoln? How can it integrate in their lives, and what would you like to share with people on and how they can get connected with this?
Oh, there's loads. So there's an invitation there to anybody in Lincolnshire, in the UK, across Europe, because I am the first here. I'm the conduit. So there is an open invitation there for anybody to get in touch through the website. All my contact details are there, and have a yarn, have a conversation. But I think something that's come through for me is the connection with soil. And that's something I hadn't really thought about, but have had that conversation with Helen, and a lot of the work that you do within We Are Carbon and the regeneration. And something Jamie shares during training is that when we're born, the body that we are born into is very different to the body that we live in today. And when you think about all the changes that have happened as we've grown, that's all been nurtured through the earth, through the air that we breathe, through our food, through our air. And all those changes have been embraced with that relationship with the earth. And I'm aware from people that I have spoken to in Lincolnshire, particularly, that some of the language doesn't sit with them because they come from a more scientific space. And I would just say, just find some common language, because this is such an important conversation to have. Within that common language, to be thinking about regeneration, regenerative human occupations, regenerative systems that create and maintain our collective well-being. There's just so much that we can talk about. There really is. And it's, as everybody said here this morning, it's having the opportunity to sit in circle, take ego and take judgment out of the room, and listen to those traditional knowledge holders. But what we're talking about fundamentally is noticing nature. And that is one of the pathways to nature connection that's been identified by Derby University. And as, predominantly great for our well-being, particularly our mental health. And this is research that's, current. So we know this. And I'm going to stop talking now because you have all completely frozen out, and I don't know if I'm talking to myself or if you can hear me. So I'm going to shut up.
Well, I don't think she can hear us either.
No.
Well, we're so proud of Deb. She's the first UK practitioner, and she's just an amazing and so connected, and, really holding the torch for Wayapa over there. We really, really hope that, she's able to share it in places and it's received in the intention that it's offered over there. We hope to come over at some stage next year and train with Deb to train new practitioners over there, because Deb is just trained as a trainer as well. So we're really, really proud of that, and hope that many people in the UK are able to see this for what it is, and it's one of those modalities that is really, really accessible and really relevant, regardless of where you're living. So it may be, co-created by a First Nations Australian man, but it's certainly for everybody on the planet. And I think that's what, the big message out there for the UK is that, not to shy away. It's certainly not about learning Aboriginal culture. It is about learning a deeper way to connect to the earth through this earth connection wellness modality.
And I think that that's probably one of the things that Deb and I talk about all the time, is the journey of unraveling that she's done through Wayapa, which I think everybody goes through, is to, you come into Wayapa one way and you leave the Wayapa way. And then it continues that journey, because that journey of connection is just always continuing over and over, and the deeper you go, the more that you have that connection, and more things are revealed, more magic, more beauty, more harmony, like balance, everything, and all of the different ways, the interconnectedness of everything is always amazing. And we always talk about, even though she's over in the UK, we talk about that. I'll send love on the breeze that's just gone past, my flat, and, she'll feel it over there. Or I'll send love into, the waters, down at the beach here, and know that it'll travel through those beautiful creation waters, and bring that vibration, that energy to her, and she'll feel that. So those levels of connection just open up, and I know that has been really a huge journey for Debs, and she has just been such an amazing advocate, for being able to, I guess, almost share it in a way that is always relevant, to where she is, and expressing, just as Jem was saying, that even though Jamie Thomas is Gunai Kurnai and Gunish Mara descendant, it's also co-created by me as well. So tapping into my own ancestry of being Canadian born, and Welsh, British, Northern European, and living in Australia. And so many people around the world, all of us have lots of different ancestral roots that all come together weaving. Just like the mycelium of the trees and the plants, they're all coming together weaving, and we can all tap into that, because it's that we talk about Wayapa being that journey to self, journey to the earth, but journey to community as well, and knowing that we are all part of this global community. And when we act, both locally and globally, then that's that beautiful weave of knowledge, and connection that we can create.
It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And also, if you'd like to leave people with any other information about how they can learn more, or you have a recommendation for them to read into something, please feel free to share.
Yeah, they can definitely check out our website. We're just in the middle of doing a rebuild, but they can still go to our website, which is www.wayapa, wayapa.com. Yeah, Beck's part of the rebuild, of bringing some, just some new language to the website, just so that it's, because we are becoming global as a movement, to, really for everybody to understand that they do have space and place wherever they are, and connection, and, really tapping into that, and, so that they can, feel a part of this community. And Deb's a huge part of our community. We've got a Canadian practitioner as well. We've had, trained somebody in the States. So, we'd welcome anybody to reach out to us, reach out to Deb's. And there's also we've got on our website, there's a Reconnect the Disconnection with Wayapa short online course that people can just purchase on the website, or they can even look into, becoming a Wayapa Wuurrk practitioner like Deb's, and being able to share that wherever they are.
Because we offer some of our practitioner trainings are in person, but we certainly offer some that are online as well. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're able to train as a Wayapa practitioner. So many people train for their own connection and their own healing, and others train because it's something that they feel passionate about wanting to share. So, I'm really interested, and Beck does this beautifully. To be able to see people bring in their own lineages and the wisdom of their ancestors. Wayapa certainly offers us that sort of wireframe of how we can share this knowledge, but the beauty of seeing all different cultural stories come through, or ancestral ways come through from all over the planet, is so, so powerful. I have a friend that's another practitioner that shares from her Italian lineage and, what was passed on through her ancestors. So it's absolutely relevant to everybody. So, and again, it helps people to really sort of start exploring. Oftentimes, we've been so disconnected from what our lineages are that we forget to kind of look back any further than sort of, maybe a generation or two. But, when we really start exploring what's in our own ancestry, we will see that those deep connections to the earth are just as relevant, regardless of where you are living. So I think that's a really powerful message. Again, it's that belonging. We all have our right to that cultural journey, to that connection to the earth. As earth people, we all have that birthright to walk in stewardship and custodianship of the earth. And when we can truly live that way in gratitude, miracles happen. The earth really responds to how we look after her. And, it may not be in the ways that, many of the messages that are out there in climate discussions are happening. It really is about, loving the earth and remembering our place within it. That makes a huge difference, not only to the earth, but to our well-being as well.
And our mum's smart. She scattered us all around the globe to where she needs us to be, so that we're all here for these times, and we all carry beautiful medicine and wisdom and knowledge, and we don't have to walk on our own as we do that. That's what I love about Wayapa, is you are walking your own journey, but you're in a beautiful community of like-minded people supporting and encouraging each other along as well too. Yeah. She was smart spreading us all out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And swapping is one of the themes. So, we talk about when we swap the I out of illness and replace it with we, you get wellness.
Lovely. That's very beautiful. I like that. Thank you, because it sums up everything you've been talking about. It's shifting the mindset and connecting to that ability to be well together, not fighting on our own.
Yeah. And well with everything. That's the collective. The collective us is all species, and the water, the air, everything around us. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
well, thank you so much, Helen.
And thank you for listening to this episode of We Are Carbon. You can find links in the description to learn more about Wayapa Wuurrk, along with some suggestions for other episodes that you might like to explore from here. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with everything from We Are Carbon. And let's keep figuring this all out together.